Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 32 of Egginburgh, our Cities 2 build. I hope you're having a wonderful day. In today's episode, I would like to build some horrific, dirty, super pollutive industry using some of the signature factories, which are really, really nice assets. In terms of where we're going to place this, thinking we haven't really built this side of the map yet. So I reckon I'm going to eye up a nice spot here by the water where the industry can have access, obviously, to fresh water. And we're also going to be able to factor rail into this facility as well. It should be pretty cool. Now, the train police might want to look away for a second here because the international line that comes with the Greater Highlands map is absolutely horrendous. This thing is straight out of Planet Coaster. It's up and down. If I did this, I would never be able to show my face on YouTube again. The train police wouldn't allow it. So I think the first thing we need to do is to fix this, and let's decide where exactly we're going to put it. So we do have road access here, and I think we'll also create another bridge over here too where the trains cross over. So probably about here I think might be a good spot for our facility. So let's first of all level out some terrain because we're going to be playing with some pretty enormous assets today. So let's pick a height somewhere around there. Let's also take this opportunity to delete the train line. So once we've got this area leveled out, this is where our big factory is going to sit, just at the foot of the mountain here. And then let's delete the rest of the train line. And then essentially with this, we will slope out from probably this point, I think. Let's grab that with the slope tool. And then from where we started, which is going to be over here, let's now cut through a new slope for our train line to run through. Now it's obviously very ugly, but we'll do it a few times over, and then we'll just run some softening around. And then once we have our train line down, let's do a double train track. We can re-amend the terrain so it's not quite as obviously terraformed. But that should keep the train police significantly happier, I think. That's a much straighter stretch now, isn't it? I kind of actually don't mind how the train kind of bumps up around the shoreline there again, does it? It's going to be much more workable regardless anyway. Cool. So that allows the train to configure through. Let's also get rid of our trees here as well, just so we can see what's going on. I was actually inspired by this build from a recent picture I found just trolling Google for kind of industrial facility inspiration. Editing Egg will leave it up on the screen for us. I'm not exactly sure where this refinery is, but the whole vibe of water with industrial and then mountains is very inspiring for Egginburgh. So I think I also want to include a new rail yard out here, because we are occasionally getting the little warnings where it tells us that we don't have enough vehicles, and we could do with some more trains just for future proofing in general anyway. So let's actually factor in the rail yard as part of the build. I think we'll probably have this just outside of the actual refinery space itself. So that's probably going to be out there. And then we'll hook that back through. And then I definitely want to have these small lines hooked in as well, of course. And I'd really like to make it look like it's a proper rail yard. So let's do like real large stretches of these smaller tracks here, especially as they leave the main rail yard. Wanting to see lots of parallel rail here is going to really help kind of reinforce our industrial vibes. And then everyone will merge into that same point. So we create a little bit of a ladder system here into the rail yard, although that's pretty disgusting. Let's try that one again. And then the same thing on the other side as well. So of course it won't have its power and connection right now, but we can actually use this as our excuse to get everything hooked in. In terms of upgrades for the rail yard, we currently get 10 trains in use here. Maintenance hall 750. Of course, you do have to be careful with our economy these days. It's no longer just infinite upgrades. I guess we probably don't need the upgrades right now, do we? When we start to get those not enough vehicle warnings again, we can probably come back and upgrade this rail yard. So this is going to come off over here, where we do have another road available. So let's grab ourselves a little bit of a slope. Something like that should be okay. And then we'll keep it all fairly small roads around here. I don't want lots of massive road infrastructure starting to develop, because we are kind of trying to bleed off into country roads here. So let's have our asymmetry coming in, and then I also wouldn't mind a little one-way road that peels off from the bridge so people can just get straight on this road here. And then we'll probably move into highways here, I think, just so everything's a little bit higher speed. Something like that I think should be appropriate. And we also don't need that right turn there either on that road. So that should be fine. So let's send this new highway road down toward the rail yard. So that gives us access into the wider road network. These guys will still require power lines. And then that also takes care of water and sewage as well. Fabulous. Awesome. This gives us access to new trains. Now let's bring in the assets we're actually going to place down here. So I'm going to use Find It to place them. We're very close to actually unlocking some of them. If we come into here, it's like we just need 3,000 more bits of industrial zoning to get it, but we're pretty much there. So I'm just going to bypass the requirement with Find It. So let's come in and grab. So I think there's a few I actually want to place here. I think that the chemical plant, again, we're not massively far away from actually unlocking that. If we can find it. Yeah, like 800 more cells of industrial zoning we need for that. But either way, let's start with the meat and potatoes, which is going to be the oil refinery building. So let's just place this down first of all, and just kind of get our bearings here as to how big this is actually going to be. So the visual from today's build, I really want to see those like smokestacks and big kind of oil silos. Is quite a key aesthetic, I think, isn't it? So I think in terms of positioning, I'm actually pretty happy with that. It's not horrendous, is it? So I think nice and tight up against the rail here is going to make it look really cool. Maybe just a little bit of breathing room, because we'll probably do some extended surfaces through here too. So let's give it its road connection. We'll have to deal with a rail crossing here, but that's okay. I don't mind them. We'll just kind of make it part of the wider industrial facility. That's going to be there. So what does this actually want? Let's have a look what it does. Let's also actually give it its utilities before it kicks off any further as well. Let's just go straight 180 down into there. So it's going to give plus 2% industrial efficiency, plus 5% interest in university education, and a plus 1% graduation chance for university as well. It's pretty pollutive, especially with noise, but it is just going to help us service a little bit of industry. So we do have industrial demand, so a company should move in here at some point. But I'm pretty happy with that. So let's draw a road around it. And then we'll also have a look at some further assets I want to include as part of this big industrial facility. So we're going to be more factories. So I think it's back toward the top. Just the chemical plant. And also a very big, chunky industrial number. Which we'll take a look at as well. Let's get rid of our little menu here. But this one just gives a plus 1% industrial efficiency. Not the best buff ever. Oh, but would you look at that? That is exactly what I want to see. That's so cool. I want to see these super industrial cargo trains passing by all this mega industrial infrastructure. I think we can certainly get away with convincing ourselves that these assets are kind of very similar, aren't they? I don't think I'd totally be averse as well to maybe deleting some sub-elements off of these as well. No, I don't really want to delete the whole thing there. So if we can just trim back certain fencing. So what it is I want to do there is just filter through to remove just certain fences with the better bulldozer tool. And then we'll also grab some of that concrete as well. It looks like regular pavement surface. And then with that in, we can just fill those textures between. And it really allows us to create a much more convincing industrial space, doesn't it? Of course, which once companies move in here as well, it will actually be, you know, functioning industry, won't it? Which is fantastic, considering how it looks. They're very nice. I'm happy with those. But we are not done there yet either. I'd also like to bring in the fuel plant as well, which I believe we have placed before. But again, due to the magic of Find It, we can place it again. So I think this is over by the mines of Inverness, if I remember rightly. Pretty sure it's here, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, it is. And then again, in the spirit of kind of positioning and orientation, how are you going to fit? Oh, it's very nearly sits and fits, isn't it? We absolutely can make that sits and fits though. I really want to try frame the train line here, just because I want those industrial train vehicles passing through here. So if we were to have you roughly about there, again, I think I'm even going to utilize better bulldozer just to remove certain elements. Now let's position this somewhere around there. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And then we can just bring in those roads again. Fantastic. Cool. That should have power and water. Yeah, there you go. So I also wouldn't mind a cargo train terminal knocking around here as well. Now they are pretty big, but I think again the aesthetic of all of the industrial parts around it would just be very welcome for the aesthetic we're trying to create here. So probably wouldn't mind this directly next to our fuel plant actually. So let's just crack open some of these roads. We will still of course have the rail crossing, but for right now we'll let the cargo train terminal take priority. So again, everything really respecting that initial train line. I think with that in place then, let's bump our fuel plant up to somewhere around there. And then we can grab that single track rail. So again, we can upgrade this to have 2 train tracks, which I don't think it'll need, plus the additional storage warehouse too. Now does this one not snap off of it like the other buildings do? That's interesting. Regardless, we could still have that storage warehouse there too, which is quite nice. I do like that. So I think we'll just keep the one line on it here. And then let's just run our train line through this way. I'd love to have it come just behind the fuel plant here. And I guess that's actually a pretty sensible place to hook in there, isn't it? At that junction. Well, we could keep it running a little bit further, actually. I don't think I'd be totally against that. Let's just explore that possibility. We'll come back into existing geometry. And let's just turn that off once we're in there. And probably angle as well. And we'll just freeball this. Yes, I'm happy with that. Let's also remove that fence line again. It does keep coming back every time you move the asset, I think, which is slightly annoying. Hopefully there's a fix for that I'm probably not aware of. And then this can come down and then back into there, I think. Yeah, so I really love that we've got this extensive rail infrastructure running around the facility. I think that's pretty cool. Of course, it does lose us our main road connection, which is a problem. So we should find another way in for that. And we could just bring an alleyway down here as well. There's nothing that would stop us from doing that either. And then just cross back over here and have that road come back down this way, which we should also hook in our cargo terminal now as well. And then whilst we're back on the subject of roads, can we get that into one super node there? Maybe even one of the new little concrete roundabouts. Would that be welcome there? We get away with that. There's a little bit of lighting glitch in there, isn't there? But something I think we can live with. So, the other mention at the start of the episode here, I would like a bridge too. Where are we going to hook in from here? Of course, there is a roundabout over here, which I'd like to actually make one of the fancier ones with trees that we now have access to. And then we'll come out of this again with a asymmetrical road. There we go, this way. And we'll follow the natural terrain here as best we can. Also flip the asymmetry back into the roundabout. And back to 2-lane here. And let's see, where's going to be our best place to cross here? I think it'd be nice if we could come under the rail bridge. Going to help us develop a little bit more height there, isn't it? Let's trim off maybe 1 or 2 contour lines. Just so we get that breathing room under the train bridge. Something like that. And then we'll probably stick with highway road here, I think. 0% increase in the gradient there. That works for me. And then we'll have this just come straight under that bridge. And then we'll probably do another little roundabout here too. Let's have that one come across. Now, there's no current plans for other builds out here, but I wouldn't be totally against it. So I think leaving these networks to possibly go elsewhere. Well, I guess this is the map boundary, isn't it? So we're not going much further beyond that, really. And I don't think there's any natural resources down here either, is there? There is not. Speaking of natural resources, we do have oil nearby, but of course we can paint in our own oil. So I wouldn't be totally against having some oil extraction fields here. But before we do that, let's actually get our bridge hooked in here. Cool. So now we've got a little snaky country road able to take people into the refinery, which then also heads back all the way down there as well. So plenty of road connectivity for the industry. So speaking of extraction, I'd also like to have a look at some storage as well, which I think is quite a key aesthetic of an oil refinery, isn't it? So with that in mind, let's bring out some alleyway roads. Somewhere like here. Let's come back in to find it, and then we'll go for industry. We'll search for oil, and then we'll get a whole bunch of these storage buildings now. There's a couple of different varieties, but honestly I think the chunkier the infrastructure here, the happier I'm going to be. I think we'll go for the 6x6 boys. Let's map that out, so leave 6 more tiles behind, and then we can just place a few of these in, which of course are going to help to service our industry demand. There we go, they should. Yeah, there's already a company in here, which is good. But will give us the aesthetic of repeated oil silos, which will also help create a bit of a natural descent and climb in the building as well, won't it? But we have a company in the oil refinery now too, Tiny Toys. 329 employees in there. And hopefully it's not too long before the chemical plant and the fuel plant also receive a company as well. Cool. So we'll have that there. Possibly some more expanded oil storage. There is a number of very nice, decent assets available in this oil storage pool. Oil storage there, isn't it? That one's a pretty nice one too, isn't it? So, yeah, there's a whole bunch of different options, I think. But vibes to be had, right? Oh, yes, I love seeing those cargo trains pass through here. Now we have that cargo passenger train in. I wouldn't be against sending another external cargo line down here to Amasa, which of course is one of our outside connections. We can complete the route, and that should, there we go, yeah, send it out of our rail yard. You want to come in now? Yeah, there he is. He's the new cargo train here, isn't he? Which is one of the new ones added with the update, actually. It's a very nice little locomotive, if I do say so myself. I'm not a train expert by any means, but I can appreciate a train when I see one. But he's going to reverse, stop there, and come back down this track, is he? Yeah, so he does have to do a little bit of a 3-point turn, but at least our ladder system does work, at least. And we're going to get a whole bunch of trucks. I guess you guys are importing, are you? Yeah, you're coming from Wolftown to import oil. Which is strange, because we do have an oil surplus in the city. Maybe just because it's plopped storage, perhaps. It probably is, I imagine. What are you guys doing here? You are coming to store coal, is that? Yeah, 100 tons of coal is being stored here, which is interesting. Anyway, oil extraction field, you did say. Oh, that reminds me, actually. As whiskey catches fire. Is that a hazard? There's only 2 vehicles in use. I guess it's okay. Should just be alright. But that does remind me, we should have some fire service here, I reckon, while we're working with oil. Our urban firehouse I'm yet to use. How would this fit in? Yeah, I think the brickwork is maybe a little too urban, isn't it, for this particular build? So with that said, we could go for the firefighter helicopter depot, which we don't actually have yet, so let's buy it. It's only 2 development points. Speaking of, we need to spend more of these development points, don't we? We don't really have anything unlocked yet. Is there anything here we might be interested in using, maybe? Maybe one of the new power plants. Could get a gas power plant, maybe. We'll check it out. Hydroelectric power, we could We could dam one of the fjords. We could dam this, couldn't we? Probably not a good idea for flooding, but it would be pretty cool. How does that gas power plant look? I'm quite curious. Where are you? Gas power plant. There we go. I don't think this is going to stay, but I would just like to have a look at it. That's going to help us way overproduce again, isn't it? Which is what we wanted to avoid by trying to balance our economy last episode. But we could just export it again, I suppose, couldn't we? We could. We were right at buying outside connection, so we could just export the energy over to Wolftown over here, isn't it? It is indeed. And in terms of fitting it into the wider, I mean, it looks like it belongs in a refinery, doesn't it? All these little pipes and tubes are just made for this sort of stuff. Alongside the shipping containers on the side, also give it a little bit more purpose with the, what's it called? Train terminal as well. It's definitely not out of place, is it? I think that's definitely the take-home point, is it doesn't look strange. So, I think we'll go for it. I think we will. I think we'll have it in. We'll leave it anyway, and we'll definitely start exporting that power, because it's going to be way overproduced for Egginburgh. We just don't need that power, and probably won't need that much power now with how much left of this city we have left to build. That power exported. So if we can have you go out this way, and then there is actually already an outside connection there, isn't there, for power, so it makes sense, which I think, just to jump into that, doesn't it? So we'll just hop across the fjord, or the lock, or the firth, whatever these things are called. Have that in there, and that should up our electricity trade. Yeah, significantly, look at that. So with that, let's have a look at our service here. Make 239,000 from exporting electricity now. Which is cool. I could even bring that budget down again a little bit, just because we have just an absolute beefy overproduction. But it's fine, I can live with it. I've also just noticed that the gas power plant also comes with gas silo extensions to help increase its storage capacity, which, if it does ever need extending, is a very welcome addition into the refinery, isn't it? So we mentioned, last but not least, the possible addition of some oil extraction fields, which we will need to paint our own oil in for that using the actual landscaping tools. So it doesn't have to be a huge pocket. And then, I'm not massively sold on this, so let's see what it looks like. So let's grab ourselves a little bit of oil drilling, and we'll have this here. So I'd like to keep them fairly rigid. So that gives us like a small little oil pump there, doesn't it? Which isn't just the most appealing thing ever, is it? So I think to help them look a little bit more organic, we'll have multiple little dirt roads kind of running through the oil fields. And then we'll place kind of several smaller of these extraction plants rather than having one huge one. Is my general thinking behind it. How's that? Is that one going to get a little oil pump in it too? That one just gets a single derrick, which looks a little odd. Can I picker this? Is it ploppable? No. None of these can either, which is a shame. I think it's alright. I'm not massively sold on the idea. And I think these oil assets are pretty terrible as far as industry goes, but I think just to have some extraction nearby, it would be helpful. And then we'll just wrap that dirt road all the way around the back too, I think. We'll be feeding it back down to here. Cool. So I think I'm happy with the general layout. Let's do some detailing now. I might try something out with the shore, maybe kind of like a mock pier, almost like where else kind of oil barges might be able to arrive. Obviously not functional from a gameplay perspective, but I'd like to try do something with this shoreline, like oil can be accepted by a boat, for example. A lot of surface work to do, lots of stuff around here to really help frame this train line that passes through the middle of the refinery, and then just general bits and pieces. As we like around it, as we build a enormous industrial complex lying on the countryside of Egginburgh now. It's a real eye draw, say, sat from Whiskey train station, isn't it, if we can find it over here. Yeah, I love that. Big industrial skyline. Looks super cool, doesn't it? Nice crawling height there too, even with the rail yard. Yes, please, everyone. But otherwise, let's detail up Egginburgh's oil refinery, and then we'll be right back. guys, let's have a little review, shall we? So, actually looks great in the winter. It really gives that kind of out in the countryside, bleak industrial facility vibe, doesn't it? So let's head down to the harbour, where quite a lot has changed. We've added in just some kind of like mock harbours, really, some like mock ports where you would imagine maybe kind of like oil barges can pull in and unload or load out before they do sail off down the firth into the wider ocean, of course. So just using some of the cut and fill stuff here to create essentially key walls mixed in with alleyway keys too. A little bit of office down here as well, just as some kind of admin, if you'd like, for boats coming in and out of this port. Chucked the fire helicopter depot down here as well, which fits in really nicely with an oil refinery. Before we jump back up to that next layer where we have all our factories. We do have companies working in all three of the unique buildings now as well, which is really nice. So cool to see them getting use. There's a little bit more car parking over here, using some of the new ploppable parkings we have, and then lots of texture work, which is a little hard to see in the snow, but still is really nice around the rail work here with trees, and the road loops back around the side and then comes down here. Where it links up with some more custom car parking, where we've also got some different decals down over here too. In and around more oil storage before that forest comes back in, before it then falls back into the water. Then we come over to our cargo station, which is getting a fair bit of storage now, which is nice. They're starting to store lots more materials over this side of the city. We're also finally getting some more office demand back in as well, which is cool. And then we come back into our gas power plant, which again can be expanded a number of times should we ever need that extra power capacity. And I'm really happy with how this sits into the facility. It really expands that super processed, incredibly dangerous petrochemical vibe, doesn't it? Especially the chemical plant here too. I really like how this all sits against the rail here. Super nice. Some more plopped work over here, which has to help us make a dent in that industrial demand. It did come down briefly before going back up again. But we do have pretty high unemployment in the city, I think. We have a look. Yeah, 23%, so that's why we've just got so much demand for jobs in industry at the minute. And then lots of texture work through here, some more decals on the open space with some ploppable decoration. More props around here as well, including containers, barrels, backup generators, and then more of those silos in and around the larger factory assets, which look absolutely fantastic. Super big fan of them. Over toward this way, we have made some kind of little mock security entrances using some of the parking lot booths, and tried to find a sign that has oil on it, but unfortunately there's only oil in gear garage. Which is okay, just had to ignore the garage bit, I think. So, looks like the refinery actually has a proper entrance with signage on it, as you would expect, and you can also find that down here again as well as you approach in. There's just some texture work around these little security booths, which are just placed using Find It, and then that fence work wraps all the way around the facility. Where there is another unique office building here as well, where we have had Chirpy Tech occupied here. Well, it looks like there's a few companies here, is there? I think there is, isn't there? But really nice anyway, just more kind of admin for the facility a bit, maybe somewhere where you can pull over and get papers or whatever it is you need to actually enter a facility like this. And then more parking here for those workers. And also a upgraded road maintenance depot too, just to help keep the roads in working order. Because we don't have one over this side of the city, and while we are here, we can watch a cargo train pass through our refinery. How fucking cool is that? Absolutely love it. Super awesome. So loved how this turned out, building it all around the railway here, and it just turned out super nicely. Real big fan of it. Also that fence runs all the way around the edge of the facility here, as it does sit and occupy a very nice bit of rural Egginburgh. But otherwise, guys, that will do it for today. Massive shout out to all the patrons supporting the channel, with a special roll call to Louis Adlam if you're interested in getting involved in that. Links down to Patreon and Instant Gaming down below are the best ways to help support the channel. Thank you so much for all support on Egginburgh and CS2 and CS1, just the channel in general. We are rapidly approaching 100,000 subscribers, so welcome to everyone new that is on the channel. I hope you are enjoying the vast library of CS content on the channel. It's so nice to welcome so many of you, and so incredibly overwhelming and humble to be even remotely close to 100k subs, so thank you so much. In other news, this does kind of complete the four main industries in Egginburgh now. We've done farming multiple times, forestry of course, mining, and now we've finally done the big oil petrochemicals build, which is really cool. Let me know if you guys want to see more Egginburgh. I'm not entirely sure what else I've got planned for this map. We could keep going. Performance is up and down each week, to be honest. It kind of depends how it loads in. But we could head off and start a new town down toward the coast away from the big hills. There is some room over there. But yeah, let me know what else you want to see in Egginburgh now we have the mods available, because the game really opens up with things like Find It and the services and all the things that we love about CS. Otherwise, please do enjoy some cinematics of today's massive industrial facility, but I'll shut up and leave it there. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.